home of the Texas Ranger Museum, right next to the Baylor University campus in Waco, Texas. Today is an opportunity with great pride that we are announcing what will be the kickoff for the 200th anniversary of the Texas Rangers. The Texas Rangers in 1823 and since have become what is a preeminent law enforcement organization known around the world, not only for their bravery and integrity, but also for the hard work that they do on behalf of free people against crime and criminals. And today we offer our thanks as members of Congress, the day before Texas Independence Day, but the beginning of the Texas Rangers' beautiful year to celebrate 200 years as they have events all across Texas. The Texas Rangers have been icons not only in Texans' minds, but also legendary in the United States. And I'm proud to show what was Walker, Texas Ranger, who embodied not only the enthusiasm that law enforcement has for professionalism, through Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris had what was a #1 rated TV series for a number of years, talking about how important not only a disciplined Texas Ranger force was, but a diverse Texas Ranger workforce. People who were dedicated to solving crimes and keeping people safe. Today, I'm flanked with a couple people who we will be pleased to introduce, but we are waiting here now what will be hopefully soon as Major James Thomas of Company F, who is assigned at this time to the National FBI Academy, and he is planning on being here but not here yet. But I'm delighted to be joined by the newest member of the Texas delegation, a young woman who I've gotten to know and who represents not only the diversity of the importance of Texas, but also a strong supporter of the Texas Ranger and law enforcement. Congresswoman, we're going to let you go after this thing. Congresswoman.
Excellent. Thank you, Congressman Sessions. So honored to be here today. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this important event. You know, it's an honor to commemorate the bicentennial of the Texas Rangers. For 2 centuries, the Rangers have played a pivotal role in shaping the Texas we know and love today. The Rangers have sacrificed and stood on the front lines of defending our great state, keeping the peace, and ensuring justice is served. From hunting down the outlaws in the Wild West to securing our southern border, the Texas Rangers have always protected and served our beloved Lone Star State. These brave men and women are also at the forefront of protecting our national sovereignty. Much of my district operates under the watchful eye of Jurisdiction Company D, which extends along the Texas-Mexico border region. This region encompasses 640 miles of the Texas-Mexico border and 21 border crossings. On a daily basis, these Rangers play a pivotal role in our country's border security strategy. As recent as May 2020, the FBI specifically requested that Company D conduct the investigation of a terrorist attack in Corpus Christi by a Syrian-born extremist. This request was due to the Rangers' expertise and experience. Texas Rangers conduct interviews, collect evidence, and process crime scenes. Just even this month, Rangers from Company D recovered a 2012 kidnapping victim at the U.S. port of entry. Now, this victim had been kidnapped when he was 7 years old, and now he is reunited with his family. As a mother of 2 teenagers, this really touches my heart. And the suspect is now awaiting trial and is arrested. The Rangers risk their lives to protect our communities, uphold the rule of law, and in doing so, they embody the best values of our state: bravery, integrity, and selflessness. Texas is a land of heroes, and there is perhaps no greater heroes among us than our Texas Rangers. As we look to the future, we know they will continue to be a vital part of the fabric of Texas. We must support the Rangers and ensure that future generations of Texans continue to be inspired by their example. Let us celebrate today our Texas Rangers and their distinguished service to our great state of Texas. Happy Bicentennial. Thank you.
Monica, Congresswoman, thank you very much. The opportunity for us to tout how important the Texas Rangers are is embodied also in the men and women that represent the department. The head of the Texas Department of Public Safety and the Texas Rangers work every day on behalf of the state to make sure that we have an opportunity to be safe. We also have a piece of legislation, H.R. 815, which members of Congress are signing on, which specifically outlines that as the oldest law enforcement agency back to 1823, the Texas Rangers find themselves in international competition to stay leading edge. And that is part of why we are here today, to support that activity. We have a member of Congress who has distinguished himself in not only understanding the effects of the border, an open border, a porous border, and the drugs that are flowing in, but also working with law enforcement to make sure that Texans understand the threat that is against them. Dr. Brian Babin is a congressman who not only comes highly respected because of his work with law enforcement, but also his work in Congress. Dr. Babin.
Thank you very much, Congressman Sessions. We really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to talk about one of the most famous, well-known law enforcement groups in the entire history of this entire, I would say, entire planet. We celebrate them today. Since its creation 200 years ago, as a force to defend settlers on the frontiers of our fledgling state and republic at that time, the Rangers have been a central part of our state's rich history. This group of remarkable men and women have seen their fair share of legends. Men like John Coffee Hayes, who helped tame the vast wilderness of Texas and protect settlers in the early days. John B. Jones, who brought law and order during a time when the West was still very, very wild. And also Frank Hamer, who took down the infamous Bonnie and, Parker and Clyde Barrow. In fact, in my district, the 36th Congressional District, basically Houston over to Louisiana, the Sabine River, it is also home to a few legendary Texas Rangers as well. Major James Thomas, who is, I think, on his way.
He's right there.
Where is he?
Coming right there.
Okay, here he's coming. We'll talk. We'll hear from him in just a little bit. Major James Thomas grew up in Texas 36 in my district, in a town just down the road from my hometown in Woodville. And he is the first known Texas Ranger to hold a doctorate degree and a forensics expert. And Ranger Thomas, thank you. Get up here. Yes, sir. He grew up in a town called Newton, Texas, and I live in Woodville, Texas. It's a great rivalry between these two football teams. Newton, unfortunately, wins most of the time. Anyway, he is the first Texas Ranger known to hold a doctorate degree and is a forensics expert, as I said. His fellow Rangers say that he is the epitome of what it means to be a Texas Ranger, a man who is devoted to his faith, to his wonderful father. He's a wonderful father and husband, devoted to his family, a loyal friend and colleague. And it is a great pleasure to have him with us today. I'm also proud to represent other legends and other people that serve in the Texas Rangers in my district, like Texas Ranger Brandon Bess, who is known for using modern techniques like genetic targeting to solve Southeast Texas cold cases. Some of these cases are decades old. And Texas Ranger Joe Harrelson, who is the longest serving Texas Ranger in history, who is from my county of Tyler County. It is an utter privilege to represent heroes like these three men. Throughout history, the Texas Rangers have protected presidents and dignitaries. They captured bandits and burglars, solved some of the most complicated criminal cases to ever exist, and they have always served their communities and the Lone Star State with high distinction and bravery and courage. I want to thank them for their dedicated service. May God continue to bless the Texas Rangers and our great Lone Star State. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Hey, first I'd like to thank the congressmen for their service to this great nation and to the state of Texas. We couldn't do what we do without y'all, so God bless you and thank you. He did bring up the Newton Eagles. I won't speak anything bad about those Woodville Eagles, but we did win most of those games, sir, so it's always a good time. For 200 years, the Texas Rangers have had the privilege and the honor of serving Texans. It's something we don't take very lightly. We thank them for the opportunity to serve. To be here today is very humbling. We like to stay behind the limelight. And our job has always been to make sure the 30 million Texans and the 268,000 square miles of Texas is always free of crime, and that Texans can live a life free of crime, and our children can grow up in a society and in a place where the Texas Rangers get a chance to protect them and their way of life. As we know, we have 1,254 miles of border. The Texas Rangers have, with Mexico, that we've had an opportunity to serve and protect that border, as we still do today. As I said before, we could not do this without the great representation that we have from our congressmen and our senators and those that represent this great state. On behalf of Colonel McCraw, Chief Taylor, the Texas Rangers, and Governor Abbott, we're grateful to all Texans, all 30 million of them, and thank you for allowing us the privilege and the honor to serve. And thank you for this day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We want to thank the media for being a part of this. The important message that is the takeaway is that we in the United States Congress, the Texas delegation, give honor and duty and respect to the men and women of the Texas Rangers and the Texas Department of Public Safety and so many other law enforcement organizations that stand between criminals and families and people who want, need, and deserve effective law enforcement. I want to have, Congressman, you ready to talk? Nathaniel Moran is also a brand new member of Congress who served in his home city of Tyler, Texas, but he is a distinguished gentleman and new member of the Texas delegation. Congressman, all yours.
Thank you, Congressman Sessions. It's a pleasure to be here today to honor the 200th anniversary of the Texas Rangers, one of the most prolific law enforcement agencies in this nation. They have a historic 2 centuries of service to the state of Texas. You know, in 1823, Stephen F. Austin formed this small collective band of brave men in a call to arms. They're sometimes referred to as Los Diablos Tejanos, the Texas Devils. But they have been immortalized in so many movies and poems and TV shows over the years, and there's a reason for that, because their dedicated service, their big hearts, their compassion, their toughness is unmatched across this nation. For over 2 centuries, they have done everything from protecting the Alamo to the southern border to investigating murder, conspiracy, and every other crime imaginable. The Texas Rangers are the esteemed symbol of the Lone Star State. They are guardians of the highest order. for all that they do. You would think that there were thousands among their ranks, but in fact, there are less than 200 statewide. Since their founding, over 100 Texas Rangers have been killed in the line of duty, with countless others injured. And like so many other law enforcement agencies, it's not just the potential of their ultimate sacrifice that sets them apart. It's their daily sacrifice. These brave men and women, these law enforcement officers buckle up each day. They proudly wear the Ranger badge and that Ranger-style cowboy hat. They kiss their families goodbye, and they work steadfastly to ensure Texas justice remains fair and impartial, but also swift and sure. It is vital that we in Congress ensure that these heroes and many more like them across the United States have the support and the resources necessary to protect the communities that they serve. We can never turn our back to the men and women in uniform, those law enforcement officers who seek to serve others first. As I did when I was a county judge in Texas, I'm proud to back the blue. I'm honored to stand here today alongside the Texas delegation and these Texas Rangers in recognition of 200 years of service. To all of our officers, we honor you, we thank you, and we are indebted to you. Congratulations to the Texas Rangers on 200 years. Keep leading the way, keep setting the standard, and keep making us proud. I yield back. Thank you.
Amen.
The Texas delegation maintains an ongoing and daily relationship not only with federal law enforcement, but also with state law enforcement, including Director McGaugh and the agencies that are within the state of Texas, state and local. Dr. Babin has taken a prime point lead on the border, but he is also joined by another young man, and Chip is a person who brings to bear not only the focus that would be needed to make sure that progress is made, but what Chip Roy has done is bring a real highlight to the nation about the importance of not just effective law enforcement, but the disgrace that is associated with criminal behavior and activity along our border. I want to introduce and have him speak for the time he would consume, the gentleman from Texas, Congressman Roy.
Well, thanks, Pete. Thanks to my colleagues. I'm proud to stand alongside these great folks from Texas, stand alongside and stand proudly behind the Texas Rangers. My great-great-grandfather, John Von Roy, was a Texas Ranger who saddled up to fight Comanches in and around Hays County, Blanco County, Travis County, where I live. I live in Hays County today, just a few miles down from where my great-great-great-grandparents are buried. And that was tough living in Texas at that time. People like the Monday morning quarterback, the history is of the Texas Rangers. People take for granted what these individuals did at the founding of Texas and making sure that we settled the West and did so with pride and did so in defense of the rule of law and protecting the people that we love. I'm proud to have worked in law enforcement a little bit, although nothing like the Texas Rangers. I was in the U.S. Attorney's Office. I was the first Assistant Attorney General. In that time, I got to know a man named David Maxwell. I think a 35-year Texas Ranger. I think certainly a long career as a Texas Ranger, who solved the unfortunate murder of his own sister in a cold case after 30 years. That's the kind of work that the Texas Rangers do. I've been very proud to work and work alongside law enforcement, whether it was in the Attorney General's office or in the U.S. Attorney's office. And there's no finer group in law enforcement than the Texas Rangers. They represent all that is good about those that stand up in defense of us, walk that thin blue line, defend the rule of law that sets this country apart from the rest of the world. The reason millions of people flock to the United States, it's because of the rule of law. It's because of our commitment to the rule of law. And we should remember that in these times. We should be exporting the rule of law rather than importing lawlessness and fentanyl and the dangerous actions of cartels. The Rangers are doing their part in Texas. I'm proud of their history. I'm proud to live in Hays County, named after probably one of the most famous Texas Rangers, who carried out an engagement near Enchanted Rock, which I represent, in Central Texas. It is an honor to stand here alongside these great patriots. I'm proud to defend and stand alongside the Texas Rangers on this 200th anniversary, and I thank Pete and my colleagues for creating this environment. God bless.
Thank you, Chip. We're also joined by a new member of the Texas delegation, Morgan Luttrell. Mr. Luttrell, as we are well aware, served our nation as a SEAL in combat, in protecting this country in very dangerous places. We now have the gentleman from Denton, Texas, who is a senior member of the Texas delegation, a member of the Rules Committee, long-term member of the Rules Committee, and a member, I think, still of the Energy and Commerce Committee, the gentleman from Denton, Dr. Michael Burgess, Congressman. Congressman?
Thank you, Pete. I'm only on the Rules Committee because it's your fault. Well, listen, congratulations to the Texas Rangers. Congratulations on your 200th anniversary. I'm sure everyone before me has said it already, but one riot, one Ranger. It's what we all grew up with. When the Texas Rangers came on the case, those of us who were just regular citizens felt like the situation is under control because now the Texas Rangers are on the job. Thank you so much for what you do. Thanks for allowing us to join you in your celebration. Happy 200th, and we'll see you after the next 100. Thanks, Pete.
I hope I'm there too, Dr. Burgess. We've now been gathering members as they are coming in for what is expected to be votes very quickly. But what I want to do is have Mr. Molina to cover with us if he can. He and his father are working diligently for this celebration of the 200 years. And I'm going to ask that he lay out for us not only the pride of authorship from the Texas Rangers as they celebrate, but how we're going to roll that out across the state of Texas. And Laura Greenwood, who sits on the board at the Texas Ranger Museum, is a catalyst for this. Laura, I want to thank you not only for being here and helping us put this together, but the pride of authorship that you represent. Mr. Molina?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Congressman. Good morning. My name is Seth Molina, and I'm proud to be here today representing Texas Ranger 2023. This year, the world-renowned Texas Rangers marked their 200th anniversary of service to the great state of Texas. From its founding in 1823 until today, 169 women and men spread across 254 counties. Today's Texas Rangers reflect the diversity, professionalism, and integrity you would hope to find in one of the world's oldest and finest law enforcement organizations. Throughout this year, we will commemorate the Texas Rangers with a year's worth of events that will not only pay tribute to the agency's legacy, but will also contain an educational component about their history and the modern Ranger. We have four main goals throughout this year. The first being to commemorate the 200 years of service the Texas Rangers have given to the citizens and the great state of Texas. The second being to educate the public about what the modern Ranger does, why they're important, and that in order to become a Ranger, you have to be a DPS trooper first. Yes. The fourth, to be this is a recruitment opportunity for DPS. And the fourth, to raise funds for two main projects. The first of these is to fund the Fallen Officers Memorial at DPS headquarters in Austin for those who have given the ultimate sacrifice to the state of Texas. The second is a 53-foot-long traveling tractor-trailer mobile museum that will equal to 1,200 square feet of exhibit space to tell not only the history of the Rangers, but also of Texas itself. Keep in mind that 13 years later, in 2036, Texas will be celebrating its bicentennial year. The funds will also be used to provide scholarships for active Texas Ranger children and a relief fund for active and retired Rangers. I encourage each and every one of you to visit our website at texasranger2023.org to see our calendar of events throughout the rest of the year. We kicked the Bicentennial off this past January at the legendary Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo. And now we have taken the show on the road. We will be traveling across multiple areas of the state, such as Laredo, Midland, East Texas, Houston, Waco, El Paso, Lubbock, San Antonio, Fort Worth, Dallas, McAllen, and we will have our grand finale in Austin this November 17th and 18th, 2023. We encourage you all to join us in showing support for a great group of men and women who have protected the citizens of Texas every day, 24/7, for 200 years. We look forward to seeing you. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Molina.
Thank you, sir.
I'd now like to introduce a young man who is a relatively new member of our delegation, Jake Elsey. Mr. Elsey represents an area of East Texas that well understands not only the legend but the legacy of the Texas Ranger, Congressman Elsey.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you, everybody, for being here. That's a sharp-looking hat, Pete. Well, good morning. First, I want to thank my friend and colleague, Congressman Pete Sessions, for hosting this event, and Texas Ranger James Thomas and Seth Molina for making the journey up here to territory up here in D.C. In 1823, Stephen F. Austin made one of the most impactful decisions in our state's history, the founding and formation of the Texas Rangers. Since their creation, they have been continuing their mission of protecting Texans and standing the watch. In 1823, to protect over 600 newly settled families, they were there. In 1909, to prevent the assassination of William Howard Taft and President Porfirio Diaz, they were there. In 1935, the Rangers entered a new era. Their responsibilities expanded, and while continuing to be tasked with the safety and protection of Texans, we needed more from them. And when we did, they were there. In 2014, the Texas Rangers recommitted to protecting our border. Under the umbrella of the Texas Rangers Division and with an elite unit of 150 highly trained law enforcement officers, they are here. In 2023, the Texas Rangers are here to protect and defend our border, our state, and our citizens. They are here to stop the cartels from trafficking drugs and that are killing our young people by the hundreds of thousands every year. They are here to save the women and children that are being brought into this country for the purposes of the sex trade. James and Seth, thank you for being here. Thank you for all the sacrifices you and your colleagues make daily to keep Texans safe. May God be with you, your families, and the people of Texas. Thank you, Pete. I yield back.
Congressman, thank you very much. We're now going to go off for votes, but I've asked the Major if he will stay here and Mr. Molina to answer any questions, and I'll get to there in a minute. But I would like to make sure that people know that the Texas Ranger Museum, which has gathered together not just collectibles and ideas and equipment, but it's available in Waco, Texas, just right next to McLean Stadium on the Brazos River. And it's a perfect location as people move up and down I-35 to come reacquaint themselves with the Texas Rangers for their 200th anniversary, and we encourage people to please come be a part of that. Secondly, we as members of Congress will be helping and working with the Texas Rangers and Mr. Molina and through the Texas Ranger Museum to make sure that members of Congress highlight as they come to their areas of the state for those celebrations, and we want to thank them. Lastly, H.R. 815, which is the resolution that we have in support of them, we will all get on there sooner or later and get this thing passed and say thank you to the Rangers. So with that said, does anybody have any questions for our delegation? Major, it's all yours. Mr. Molina, it's all yours.
Yeah, I got it, sir. Happy to answer any questions if I can. If I don't have the answer, I would be happy to find it for you. All right. I think we're good. Hey, Major.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir.
Sir, God bless you and thank you. God bless you and thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. That's what I go by most all the time. Yes, sir. Russell. I figured you were wrong. From James. Pleasure.
Thank you for that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
James Thomas, sir. Pleasure to meet you. Oh, wow. You guys did a fantastic job.
How are you?
That was okay.
It's good to see you. So happy to be here.
That was a good guess.
You did the best job. You really did.
I live in Waco.
Can I get a selfie of you guys?
Absolutely.
All right.
You still have to
Yes, sir. My dad still lives there.
Chippy, you mean taking it?
Nah, this will work. Thanks.
Let me take one. Let me take one.
No, this is good. That works.